In the last session, we completed about biomagnification, and in this session, we shall see about eutrophication, and later we'll see also a case study of integrated wastewater treatment. Now, let's begin with this eutrophication. Now, what is the meaning of eutrophication? So, eutrophication is natural aging of a lake by nutrient enrichment of its waters. Right? It is a natural aging of a lake by nutrient enrichment of its water. Now we'll see this eutrophication by taking a example. So here I'm taking a young lake. Now in this young lake, the depth will be also will be very high, and it will have cold and clear water, and these waters also support very little life. Right? Now in course of time, streams will bring, so these are the streams, and they are going to bring, or I mean release, nitrogen and phosphorus like nutrients into this lake. So here I'll just mention a young lake. Okay, now the streams introduce nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus into the lake. Now, due to the introduction of these nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus into the lake, this is going to promote the growth of aquatic organisms. Growth of aquatic organisms, and these aquatic organisms are nothing but the plants and animals. So these are plants and animals, right? So the growth of plants and animals take place. Here the point is that, so when this nitrogen and phosphorus increase uh, in the lake, then this actually results in increasing the lake fertility, right? So due to increase in the lake fertility, it actually right helps the plant and animal growth to take place. Okay, so I'll mention here, due to increase in lake fertility, the plant and animal growth occurs enormously. So means their number increases enormously, right? Now when these plants and animals, their number increases, and after one or other time their death results in, okay, piling of their debris at the bottom of the pond. So this is bottom of lake. Okay, I mean lake here, right? You can take pond also, no problem in that case, a pond or a lake. Here we have taken example of lake. Now at the bottom of the lake, whatever that plant, so here there are more number of plants and more number of animals, and when they die, their remains, they come down, okay, and that becomes something called the organic debris. So it goes on piling up as the time, okay, moves on, So slowly in course of time, a lot of right this the dead remains of those plants and animals will come down, and then they undergo decomposition at the bottom of the pond, and they will be covered with the silt. And slowly as the time passes, all right, now you can see a lot of debris that piled at the bottom of the pond. And as the time passes, the pond grows shallower and shallower, you can see here. So in course of time, and you can see the depth of the pond, it became very less, so it became shallower. So in course of time, the pond becomes shallower, right? So this is the bottom of the pond. All it contains organic deposits, right? So these organic deposits are all formed, okay, uh, from these dead remains of those aquatic organisms, and along with the silt, right? So this organic deposit consists of silt and the organic matter from those aquatic organisms. Now you can see the pond became shallower. So when the pond becomes shallower, you will see the growth of marsh plants. So here, okay, so of course this is not the water, I'm just drawing, so don't think this is a water. This is okay, organic deposits that all form due to, okay, the aquatic organisms, their dead remains mixed with silt. And okay, so that's, you can see here. Now taking the base of that, you will see the marsh plants growing. So these are marsh plants growing, and along with that, you will also see masses of floating plants. A lot many, okay, floating plants will be seen, right? So these are masses of, right, floating plants. So that's a bog. The masses of floating plants, that they are bog, okay, bogs. So you can see here, these are marsh plants. I'll mention here marsh plants, and masses of floating plants are growing in these shallower water bodies. Now as the time passes, okay, further what happens is this pond, even their death, okay, and their deposition will make, okay, the pond much shallower and shallower. Finally there will be no water, okay. So this completely eliminates even these floating plants, and then these marshy plants will also disappear completely later, and you will not see, okay, anything here, and this all becomes a land. So you can see no water, and all this will be the soil. So completely it will be soil, and this pond completely disappears in course of time. So that's what we call it eutrophication, and this process will or can occur naturally. Of course it occurs naturally, and the time taking for this process to complete, it depends upon the size of the lake, and also the climatic conditions where the pond, I mean the pond or the lake is present, right? And right, now here the point, so why I'm talking about this, uh, this process to take place, usually it requires thousands of years, but this process is going at a faster rate due to involvement of humans. Now that's what is called cultural or accelerated eutrophication. So that's a cultural or accelerated eutrophication. So this cultural or accelerated eutrophication, which simply means accelerated aging of a lake. I told you the natural process of aging of a lake will take several thousand years. But now, okay, in the past century, due to activities of human beings, this process is taking place at a faster rate. So that's okay. The faster aging of a lake is what we call cultural or accelerated eutrophication, and that is all because of human activities. Now, what are those human activities which are actually causing this accelerated eutrophication? Right now, the sewage waters from homes, then effluents from industries, right, and also from agriculture. They release a lot of course, the waters that may contain right nitrates and phosphates. Now here, even of course in agriculture, we use a lot of fertilizers, and they are also the source of those nitrates and phosphates here. Now the waters from these will contain, from these sources contain nitrates and phosphates. And these nitrates and phosphates, we know they are plant nutrients. And these plant nutrients, if they are available in the water, okay, using these, right, the algae and other plants may grow in huge numbers. Okay, so this results in, okay, or it over stimulates the growth of algae in that, okay, water body. And now the overgrowth of this algae in that water body, it can cause, okay, an unsightly scum, and also will produce unpleasant odors, because okay, they may produce some toxic substances, and their decomposition, I mean the death of these algae and their decomposition and other plants and other organisms, okay, and all of that will produce, okay, bad smell. So here you can see it produces, okay, scum and also bad smell, right? And here the process, that is decomposition, results in reducing dissolved oxygen in the waters. And now when the dissolved oxygen becomes less in the waters, it can result in the death of the fish and other aquatic organisms, right? So this leads to death of fish and other aquatic organisms, and this ultimately leads to disappearance of the lake. Now, one more problem is a release of heated wastewaters from the thermal power stations. So, these heated wastewaters from thermal power stations, right? So, here usually these thermal power stations are constructed near to a water body. Okay, so we say in this case we take a river. Okay, so near to the river they are going to construct these power plants. So this is a thermal power plant. Okay, and now uh, the water from the river will be channelized to this thermal power plant. I'll mention here river. So say suppose this is the direction of flow of water, right? And from the power plant, the water is released back into the river. So here the river water will be used to cool down, okay, the steam, right, or the boilers, right. Once that process is completed, even the water will be used for the production of steam, right. And once that usage of the water is completed, of course by the time the waters will be in a very hot condition, and those waters will be released back into the river. And when that hot water enters, that is a heated water enters into the river, so here I'll mention the release of heated water back into the river. And now this results in the rise in the temperature in the river water. Okay, so river water temperature rises. So if that temperature rises, then many aquatic organisms which are sensitive to temperature will die. So this causes death of aquatic organisms that are sensitive to temperatures. That Of course, this process can actually enhance the growth of plants and fish in extremely cold areas, right? So here, the process may enhance the growth of plants and animals in extremely cold areas. So there it may be helpful in the case, right? But in other places where the outside temperatures are not okay, so cold, then here already the river water may have certain temperature, and releasing these heated waters will further increase the temperature, and definitely it can result in the elimination or reduction in the right organisms that are sensitive to temperature. But that will also happen only after causing damage to these indigenous flora and fauna, right? Now let us take a case study of integrated wastewater treatment. So a case study of integrated wastewater treatment. So you have already studied, right, how to treat the wastewater treatment, okay, in microbes in human welfare, where you have seen how we can treat the sewage water, and completely the clean water that is produced is released into the water bodies instead of directly releasing the waste waters. Now here we will be seeing a natural and artificial, okay, mixing concepts, and then how they are using these two together to, right, treat these waste waters. So right, so it has both artificial process and natural processes. So artificial and natural processes together, they are going to involve in this integrated wastewater treatment. And this they have done it practically in a town called Arcata, right? So in a town Arcata. So this town Arcata is located on the northern coast of California. So this is located on northern coast of California. Right. So in this location, in this town, that is Arcata, so they have did this integrated wastewater treatment, so which is a mixture of artificial processes and also the natural processes. So here the people of this Arcata plus biologists from Humboldt State University. So together they came up with a concept, okay, that is integrated wastewater treatment. Okay, right. So I'm sorry, mention it, Humboldt State University. So now let us see this whole process, that is integrated wastewater treatment, will take place in two steps. Okay, two main steps we'll see. Right. So I said that this cleaning process takes place in right two steps. I mean two stages. Cleaning is done in two stages. So the first stage, that is stage one. So in this stage one, what they are going to do is the conventional, okay, sedimentation process. It includes conventional sedimentation process. Then they are going to go with okay, filtering, and then they are going to, okay, do chlorination. So these are the three things that they are going to do in the stage one. So it actually, you can say it's an artificial processes, the conventional sedimentation, then okay, filtering, and then chlorination. Now even after this process, so even after stage 1, okay, so the waters are not completely clean, so they may contain dissolved heavy metals, right? So even after stage 1, the waters still contain dissolved heavy metals. Now we need to tackle with these heavy metals. We need to remove these dissolved heavy metals, which is quite difficult. So you cannot do with this process of filtering, nor with the conventional sedimentation will be useful in removing these heavy metals. So hence we need to go with a new process that actually helps in removing these right heavy metals, and that process is done in stage 2. So the second one is stage 2. So in stage 2, right, biologists, so what they have done is they connected, okay, six what I call marshes in a marshland. So these biologists, they connected six marshes over 60 hectares of marshland. So in a marshland, so that has around 60 hectares, in that they connected these okay, six marshes. So they connected six marshes over 60 hectares of marshland, right? That is in a series, means in a line they have connected, okay, these six marshes that has a, okay, area of 60 hectares, right? So that's here I'll show you. So it's like okay, So we can see these have been right connected. So roughly I'm showing that, okay, so the different six marshes that they have been connected. Okay, right. So one, two, three, four, and so in a series they have connected these six marshes, right? And in these marshes they have planted, okay, uh, right, appropriate okay, plants, I mean, like algae, right, fungi, I mean, other than algae, some other plants, appropriate plants, they have okay, they have seeded in this right, six marshy areas, that is right, and bacteria, right. So appropriate plants, algae, fungi, and bacteria were seeded in this, okay, six marshes. So now these, right, algae, fungi, bacteria, and other plants that are seeded in six, okay, marshes. Now these, okay, plants are going to, so they are going to neutralize those pollutants, and they're also going to absorb and assimilate the pollutants, right. So as I have mentioned here, so say suppose, so these are the marshes that have been connected, okay, right. So one, two, and three, and so on, okay. Now they have put lot many of these algae, okay, other plants, okay, appropriate plants which are helpful in doing these processes, that is neutralize, absorb, and assimilate the pollutants, okay. So they are going to, right, either neutralize or absorb them or assimilate these pollutants and make these waters completely free from the heavy metals, right. Now after this process, that is a stage 2. So after stage 2, the waters, I mean, okay, will be free from heavy metals, will be free from those heavy metals. Now the water is completely clean and ready to be released, okay, to uh, right, natural water bodies, right. So as the water moves, okay, through these marshes, okay, it gets purified. So this is a marsh, this is one, second, third, and so, and finally after passing through those marshes, the water will be almost right, completely clean and free from these heavy metals, okay. Now these marshes not only will be cleaning the waters, they also have a sanctuary, okay, because the marshes are very good locations where with water. So here marshes are little shallow waters you will find, okay, where the plants and other organisms they can grow, and even they can contain fishes. So here this area will be having a sanctuary also, right. So right, a sanctuary is also present with these marshes, and this sanctuary has high level of biodiversity, which means it has different species in the form of fishes, in the form of, right, the birds, right, and many other organisms, or I mean animals. So this biodiversity is in the form of, right, fishes, okay, birds, and other animals. They like to live in these marshes, right. Now, here the residents of that area, Arcata area, right, they formed a group which they call it the Friends of Arcata Marsh. So, in short, they are, okay, mentioning it as FOAM form, that stands for Friends of Arcata Marsh. And these people, that is the Friends of Arcata Marsh, will be responsible for, okay, keeping this, what I call a sanctuary, and also maintaining this, okay, six interconnected, right, marshy areas, okay, and right, safeguarding the whole project. So that is the duty of this FOAM, that is Friends of Arcata Marsh. Right now, all this time we thought water is required, okay, for removal of wastes, right. And of course, if water is used for the removal of wastes, that actually generates the sewage. Now here, okay, uh, some people have come up with new concepts, that to develop a toilet that doesn't use water. So we know that how much water we use to flush the toilets, so all that is fresh water. So a lot of fresh water that either from the, okay, nearby water bodies, or from the groundwater, that is used to flush the toilets. Now, right, some people, so as I said, they have come up with a new concept, what we call them, right, Ecosan toilets. So these Ecosan toilets are, okay, dry composting toilets. So these are dry composting toilets. Means they are the one, they will be not, I mean, using water. So which means no water is used to flush, okay. And here this Ecosan is actually a short form of, okay, ecological sanitation. So where they have taken, okay, the echo of this ecological, and san from this sanitation, so that they have made a short, it's called Ecosan toilets, right. And these Ecosan toilets will not be using water to flush them, okay. And that's the reason why we are calling them dry composting toilets, right. And this is a sustainable system for handling human excreta. And these, right, Ecosan toilets are practical, and they also are hygienic, and right, they're again efficient, and also cost effective, right. So with a very little amount of money, we can build these Ecosan toilets. So that's cost effective, and it's a very good solution to eliminate the, okay, human excreta. And in this process, the human excreta can be, okay, recycled, right into a resource like a natural fertilizer. Okay, so can use as natural fertilizer. So using artificial fertilizers, we know it creates a lot of environmental pollution. So not every time the farmer will be using exact amount of fertilizer in the agriculture. So here and there may be excess quantities which will be used in the agriculture, and they can create a lot of environmental pollution, like the phosphates and okay, those nitrates what we have seen, those excessive quantities if that present in the agriculture, and when it rains, that may sweep all these nutrients to nearby water bodies, and thereby causing that eutrophication that we have seen, okay, already. So that human excreta, instead of using those artificial, so we can use this human excreta, right, as a natural fertilizer here. So here, because as we are not using the water, and this human excreta will be directly dumped into, okay, on, I mean, onto the soil, and where it undergoes the process of right decomposition and everything, and gets mixed up with the soil, and later that can be used as a natural fertilizers. Now the point is that, so it is already surprising that in India we already started to use these Ecosan toilets. Okay, so here in many areas of, okay, Kerala, and also, right, Sri Lanka, so they are using Ecosan toilets, right. Okay, so in India, mainly this Kerala already started to use, okay, Kerala, right, and in case of India, so it started using, and right, in Sri Lanka also they started using these Ecosan toilets, and which are completely environmental friendly, okay, and they will be not using a lot no water, that is not little, no water at all, okay, and that will save a lot of fresh water.